This, my friends, is Force Admiral, an already impressive World War II tactical naval simulation developed by Drydock Dreams in the style of Carrier Strike and Task Force 1942, if anyone remembers these. What you can see here is a very early gameplay slice. This non-specific battle around Santa Cruz Island is playing itself. There's no player interaction available at the moment, but what we can see here is very promising. I'll give you an overview of what's planned to be included in the finished game while we watch how the battle unfolds. The initial release of Force Admiral will be called Volume 1 American Carrier Battles and is set in the year of 1941, just after Pearl Harbor. You're in charge of an American carrier strike force in the Pacific, as the name says. There are plans to include a lot of famous battles up until January 1943, like Coral Sea, Midway, and Solomon Islands. At least 30 single-player scenarios will be playable at release. The game will be single-player only for the time being, but multiplayer with PvE and PvP is on the roadmap for future volumes. TFA is played in real time with a pause function. It's not a fast-paced RTS where you would need an average mouse click rate of 60,000 per minute. The game rather aims to simulate the tactical side of the engagements, like scouting, spotting, and initiating and controlling the battle. It's about making choices with limited intel, unreliable data, and finite resources at hand. For example, you might send out a flight of wildcats, which will disappear into the fog of war, and you'll only know if they were successful once they return, if they return at all. After the battle, you'll get access to all the logs and a free camera to analyze your previous actions. There also will be a save game function, so you can try out different tactics and approaches without having to play the same mission from scratch over and over again. To keep us hooked until the next volume arrives, after we played all of the scenarios to death, the devs promised to include a quick mission generator, and they will make available the same scenario builder they used themselves. They also might possibly integrate a really awesome gameplay option I'll disclose later in the video, but let's first talk about some of the other interesting aspects of the game. Force Admiral will try to reach a broad audience by focusing on accessibility without sacrificing advanced gameplay mechanics. This has its limits, of course, so as far as I can tell, TFA will never be an arcade game, no matter how you configure it. Which is a good design choice in my opinion, because it aims to bring back the classic Pacific Theater naval gameplay we loved to immerse ourselves during the 90s, combined with a well-designed user interface. If this works out as planned, well, count me in. I guess a top-notch interface will be a requirement to make managing your carriers a fun experience rather than a chore. After all, you need to assign air patrols, waypoints, and search patterns, and on top of that, manage launch and recovery sequences while being under fire from all directions. Another interesting aspect is the crew communication part of the simulation. You must rely on your staff, which means you will delegate tasks and listen to their reports. But unlike in most of the games we've played in the past, they will actually behave like humans. Which means your staff will make mistakes, proclaim their doubts, and at some point they will get tired. There also is the need to communicate with HQ, other allied forces, and to debrief aircrews. In the words of the devs, it's first and foremost a game of guts and bets, not pure numbers and statistics. Speaking of numbers and statistics, at the given point in time, plans are to include 91 ship classes and aircraft types ranging from the carrier USS Enterprise over the Japanese battleship Yamato all the way to the Dauntless P-38 and the famous Zeros. Expect a Kickstarter campaign during the coming winter. What's not yet confirmed but might become a Kickstarter stretch goal is the possibility to directly control planes and ships. The planes have a flight model and the ships aren't on rails also, which means they float by simulated buoyancy. If this feature will ever see the light of day in a well-polished state, I believe TFA would be an instant classic, especially with multiplayer. With that said, the Kickstarter campaign is not mandatory for the completion of the base game. It is focused to make the boxed version possible, along with maybe several enhancements like the controllable vehicles I just mentioned. Link to Steam is in the description below. If you like, wishlist the game to push its popularity on the platform. Subscribe to my channel to get future updates on Force Admiral and other games covering air, land, sea, and space. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon.